Hi, my name's Dr Kate Coleman, and I'm a Senior Lecturer at the Melbourne Graduate School of Education at the University of Melbourne. I'd like to welcome you to the 17th International Conference on Technology, Knowledge and Society. I've been a part of this community for over a decade. I co-edited a book with Dr Ariane Rourke in 2011, Pedagogy Leads Technology. And I was an awardee of an Emerging Scholar Award when I first brought my research in digital spaces to this community. That 10 years has brought me in digital spaces into multiple sites and places. And I've thought differently about practices, pedagogies, and policies in that time. The pandemic, though, has shifted all of this. For some of us, it created an impact that we were prepared for. For others, it changed our world quite drastically and continues to. So our theme, considering viral technologies, pandemic-driven opportunities and challenges, is an important one to come together for 2 days to discuss, to think about what our futures look like and could be, what they might be, and what the educational turn will create as an impact across sectors. I would firstly like to show my respect through acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land, of elders past and present on which this meeting takes place. I would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri peoples who are the traditional custodians of this land at the University of Melbourne, and also the lands upon which I meet you in my home here in the Kulin Nations. As a result, I would like to pay my respect to the elders, both past and present, of the Kulin Nations, and extend that respect to other Indigenous peoples present at this conference. I'd also invite you to have a think about where you currently work and live, and who the traditional custodians are of that land. This conference invites us to do some of this rethinking, of reimagining the kinds of places and spaces that we work and live in, the societies and cultures in which we practice, and the people and in the communities where we work. This conference brings us together across disciplines, geographies, and cultural spaces. As researchers and practitioners, we come together to have a think about the concerns that we have and some of the wonderful strategies that we have developed as a result of living and working through a pandemic. The themes for the conference invite us to think about the educational turn, to explore the histories of technologies and what the impact in the pandemic has been, to think about our knowledge makers. Who are these knowledge makers who've been prevented from knowledge making, and how do we come to think about the futures of knowledge making? And what are the social realities? What are the social realities within our viral technology spaces? What are the traces that we leave behind and the traces we might consider for future generations, thinking about our concerns and our hopes for the future? We have 4 fantastic world-leading thinkers and innovators in the field to open our plenary sessions. Our Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Gregor Kennedy, will lead an important discussion from our space at the University of Melbourne about what the future looks like for us as an institution, but also some of the other important aspects of futures in education going forward. I work in initial teacher education, and I've had the great pleasure of teaching teachers during a pandemic, of learning to learn with teachers. 10 years ago, I became a part of the Technology, Knowledge and Society community. In 2011, I co-edited a book and published with Common Ground, Pedagogy Leads Technology, with Dr Ariane Rourke at the University of New South Wales. Together, we were exploring opportunities for thinking differently about digital learning, teaching and assessment. And we invited colleagues from the conference to come together and to present their papers. in a reimagination of thinking pedagogy at a time when technology seemed for us to be leading the change, and we wanted to focus on teachers. I felt the impact of that last year. 2020 was an important year to work with teachers because my teachers weren't at school, they were at home, some of them in their bedrooms, learning to learn and learning to teach at the same time. They learnt a whole new language, languages of education, but also languages of digital worlds, new scholarship. And together, we created a community to think about what the impact and opportunities might be for art education, which is the space that I practice within. As an artist, I have felt the affect of the change across the world. My art community has been hit very hard in Melbourne. Closures of galleries and museums. The impact of that has been huge. Studio spaces for artists outside of the 5 kilometre radius during Melbourne's lockdown made it very difficult for them to continue to practice. And our practices had to shift. We had to think about what was on hand at home. So this conference will bring together this multi, inter and transdisciplinary discussion. And the 2 days will linger on beyond the conference date. Unlike what happens when we come together physically, when our flights return us back to the spaces that we live and work upon, this wonderful platform will connect us for the next coming months. And we can think about what the impact of that asynchronous community dialogue looks like. We can practice, for some of us, what we preach. That asynchronous discussion and dialogue is really important because it frames a reflection. And through that reflection, we can continue a discussion that goes from one point into another, across borders and boundaries, across places and spaces, and across time and time zones. I look forward to revisiting those dialogues over time, and we will, in the next few months, come together at the University of Melbourne for those local to explore a meetup and get to see our space if you're here in this wonderful city and at this amazing institution. We were established in 1853, and as a faculty, education came together in 1903, becoming a faculty in 1923. We have a long tradition of research, learning, and teaching. And here in this institution, we are leaders in service and engagement across disciplines, across communities and societies, across knowledge and across technologies. Together, we come to work to create new opportunities for local and international students to work in a site of praxis where, as researchers and teachers, we come together through theory and practice. And this is what I so look forward to sharing across the next 2 days of this conference. Have a wonderful 2 days of asynchronous and synchronous learning together. And I look forward to the conversations that emerge and that continue beyond this conference into the next. It will be wonderful to see some of you in synchronous sessions, but also potentially at future technology, knowledge and society conferences. Take care, be safe and stay well, and enjoy the next 2 days. And thank you to the wonderful team at Common Ground. Thank you to the outstanding conference local organising committee, to Professor Sophie Arkoudis, Dr. Bella Blah, Melina Malos, our wonderful PhD candidate that has supported how to share across our networks in the students here, to Meredith Hines, Manager of E-Learning and E-Teaching in our Faculty of Arts, to Dr. Charles Savini, excuse me, who works in the Faculty of Medicine, Dentistry and Health Sciences, to the generous and creative Dr. Claire McNally in the Melbourne Dental School, and to Dr. Karen Donald. Thank you. She works in the Faculty of Medicine, Dentistry and Health Sciences, who has shared broadly our connection across this committee. And this committee has developed into a professional community, professional learning community, who will seek over the next few months to connect with you more broadly and see how we might connect at this meetup and have a think about what it is that we should share beyond the conference, and contribute more broadly into a wider discussion back with Common Ground. Have a great few days. Bye.